this is Latasha of Autistic. Lately, I've been thinking about how our perspectives on the human experience only include neurotypical ones only, and they don't include atypical experiences like the ones from autistic people, which is a real shame because these experiences can teach us a lot about the true nature of human consciousness and reality. Today, I will change all of that by discussing the mystical encounters I have had with my own mind and how autism has the power to alter perception in such a way that you feel ancient, childlike, or a mix of both. Including agelessness, there are mental mechanisms of the mind that inspire feelings of being inhuman or supernatural. Understandably, this can be alarming for some people, but there's no need to worry. Just because you have these complex mental mechanisms doesn't make you a monster or less than human. It just means that you have a different way of interacting with the world than everybody else. The term Eldritch was popularized by the writings of Lovecraft, in which he detailed ancient creatures beyond human comprehension. Eldritch is just another word for eerie or weird in a way that cannot be explained easily by mankind. And I felt it was perfect to include as terminology for explaining how it feels to live as an autistic person experiencing these incredible mental mechanisms that stretch our linear definition of reality. Now that we know what the term Eldritch means, we can explore what autistic minds are truly capable of and how they often operate on a different plane of reality that, like these ancient creatures, defies conventional sensory mechanisms to branch off into a boundless reality. If you're anything like me, you might not take this idea of being Eldritch very seriously because you think you're normal in the way that you observe the world and process it. But you'll find that often neurotypicals even do not fully understand the strength of their inner being and will. So you might fit into this category without even realizing it. In my case, anxiety taught me about my own potential for greatness and the depths of my mind, even as it was being deconstructed. And I went through these things knowing that they were undeniably universal in nature. And that's why I want to share these experiences with you in the hopes that autism will be seen in a new light. The thumbnail I created for this video, including the purple mist entity with mystical eyes and tentacles, represents accounts from me and other autistics that we feel like we are living in a cloud. I especially feel like I am a collection of concepts instead of a human being, imprinting on media and my environment to the point where it swallows up my perception and I embody this external stimulus completely. The floating anatomical body parts are indicative of feeling detached or closely aligned with our body through our senses, which have a huge influence on how we perceive reality. Basking in these senses and emotions can be very cathartic and make us feel weightless and vast, like we are stretching on forever. Is a very profound feeling. The intriguing way my autistic brain was hardwired before may explain some of these mechanisms. My brain was actually an infinite loop of happy experiences feeding into my inner brain continuously, which nourished my being and made room for more complex neural pathways to be created. Different chambers in my brain had different flows to them, but they all worked together in harmony to combine and create my intricate worldview. The length of my neurons also had far reach, so they just intensified the sensations even more. Of course, they also hindered me in regular conversation, so I couldn't respond very quickly when I wanted to. However, all of this really set the stage for a powerful system in my brain that led to being more feeling and sentient than what is considered normal. These sensitive peaked processes led me to feeling larger and older than humans, and my depth perception increased, leading me to be able to sense every particle in a still room with ease and know the parameters of the space intuitively. My strong visual senses immerse me in a new blended reality, mental images filling up the entirety of a space. And while I gauged the emotions, the projected images swarmed along my vision. My emotions appeared like tangible objects floating in front of me, like being suspended in an aquarium. These emotions were so vivid that I could pinpoint where each of them were and dive and dance within their recesses, leading to more building complexity. My perception of reality and my emotions often intermingled freely, becoming one amalgamation that could not be distinguished from each other. The compartmentalization was fascinating too. Although these emotions were suspended in midair, I noticed that they also had geometric borders surrounding them, that they were sectioned off into planes. And one night I was looking at my shelf, as you do, and I was thinking to myself something different. But I saw that as I was looking at it, there was 20 different sections that were all lit up with emotions, unique emotions of love and happiness smiling back at me. And the deeper I looked into them, the more I noticed that there was more further down, not just 20, but that it went further and further indefinitely and split off into these emotions that I had yet to discover. When you bask in these emotions and fall several layers deep into them, you really tap into this pleasurable sensory sensation that really enhances the quality of your life and experiences. Most autistics describe the feeling of sitting in a hot bath after a long day, or really just embracing the softness of their sheets. But what I've found is that I like to partake in my favorite tea, matcha. Matcha helps me calm down, that's for sure, but it's also so tasty. And I really dive in and become one with the soft, silky, vegetal mouthfeel, which is a bit grassy, but then you dive deeper into it and the sweetness really takes over. It's a really miraculous feeling. I also really like the sensation ASMR brings. Of course, it's funny to say, but it really makes me more personable and cooperative and susceptible to advertisements after I listen to a session. And of course, it used to give me tingles a lot, but not anymore, I'm afraid. But yeah, all of these sensations are so beneficial for everyone to experience. You know, the little things in life are helpful for everyone, not just autistic people. In terms of being childlike, which is often in direct opposition with being eldritch and ancient, it can feel like because of the sheer magnitude of our experiences that these hobbies that we have as children are hard to grow out of. And other people can look negatively upon that, seeing it as too obsessive and childlike. But the important thing to remember is to never let anyone dictate what brings you meaning in life, what you can and cannot like. Nothing is too childish to be enjoyed as an adult. As far as these past interests are concerned, if you hold them very dearly to your heart, there is no need to move past them to become an adult. Of course, if you want to, then that's great, but most people find that these past memories and interests they have actually build up their sense of self, which is so important in today's climate. And adulthood can have a lot of dark moments that need to be counteracted with the authenticity and happiness that comes with loving these interests. So it's actually a very valuable tool to be able to utilize in these moments. Even though it's proven that I came into this world 24 years ago for the first time, it feels as if there was another lifetime, another reality before this one. And of course, I've had transcendental moments like that where I would wake up and I would realize that I should be shorter, like when I was a child. I felt like I was really high up in this mystical new realm of reality, and there was a feeling of yearning deep in my heart that I couldn't place or describe to others. And of course, I would feel like an alien compared to everyone else. And I felt like my home was not here on Earth, but actually someplace in a distant, far off land somewhere. And this is a common experience with many autistic people, I feel. So it's not just me that experiences this sort of thing, but yeah, that's how being childlike and ancient really blended together for me. With the intensity of these feelings that were basically inherent to my nature, they faded over time through mental hardship and as I was acclimated to this reality through age. And to be sure, with my severe anxiety, I was reduced to this cloud eldritch being to more of a mortal one. And as sure as it is, like, my ideas used to come from a place of great knowing, a very creative place that was bigger than myself, that was more attached to the universe than it was to my brain, if we're being honest. But now it seems as though all of the sentient mechanisms in my mind have gone more dormant, save for one, which I will get into in another video. But yeah, this is honestly reasonable, given the choice that I made when presented with my own autistic nature. To explain it, there was a definite split off between me and my higher self. And after I was fighting with anxiety for a very long time, and I got through the psychological warfare all right, I was obviously reeling from the pain and destruction in the aftermath. So there I was, just floating in my mind, minding my own business, when this big cloud representing my higher self reached out to me with its sentient arms, and it wanted to embrace and become one again. But ultimately I refused because that would be too vulnerable, offering up too much of myself to this entity in exchange for ultimately becoming my previous self. So I let it drift away from me and I said goodbye to my beloved higher self, which was ultimately a very hard decision that I had to make. Regarding my higher self, I still believe that it's possible to reunite with it even after 3 years of its absence, but it is ultimately still dormant within me, and I just need to only seek it out. So I will work on that as well, which is exciting. But as far as the choice I made is concerned, it was a choice that I was given from on high as to whether I should choose to mask and be a neurotypical, or if I should let my intense autism presentation take over, ultimately becoming my true self. And I chose to double down on the masking and being neurotypical passing, which I deeply regret now, because I realize from a very deep place of introspection that embracing my true self was the only right choice that I had from the very beginning. I've learned now that I need to reverse that decision that I made back then and instead choose to nurture my true autistic eldritch nature instead of just beating around the bush and appealing to this neurotypical perception that I can feel kind of wrapped around my brain, and it's so claustrophobic and it constantly makes me worry about how I appear to other people by enforcing this norm that I've constructed for myself, and that's no way to live. It's very miserable, and I want to do everything in my power to deconstruct it as soon as possible. That will require me to present as more autistic, but so what? Being autistic is beautiful and meaningful, and not even 1,000 years into the future will neurotypicals understand how that is or what it means to be autistic at all. And my autistic brain connecting with the cosmos, that was a direct result of the condition, and that's something that they could never understand. Mysterious phenomena like this of the autistic brain continues to impact and affect me on a daily basis, and I am so ready and willing to embrace this as a part of my life experience. My autistic mannerisms deserve to be explored, and in order to be a positive influence on others, to show them that it's okay to be themselves, I want to embrace who I am at the core of my being and deeply understand myself apart from the status quo that does not even take into account the existence of someone like me. And if you have not accepted yourself already, I highly suggest that you join me in my quest to self-acceptance so that we may lead by example and take the charge in changing society as a whole for the betterment of autistic people. As for these great universal encounters that I have personally had to grapple with, I don't have a clear answer on how to confront them. Yes, neurotypicals would not even be able to handle the fact that they exist, let alone directly confronting them. But that's not the issue here. The main issue is that what you see in the recesses of these great encounters is usually a reflection of your own psyche. So it's best to be positive and to not look directly into it, for one, and to not process it all at one time. That's a good general rule of thumb to note. For the most part, there are things in life that humans are not meant to comprehend, so keep that in mind when confronting these things. Usually every force in the universe is loving, and I believe that these forces are out for our good and our well-being, so I don't usually worry about it. However, if you do have a terrifying experience, then you should still kind of have a positive outlook and be grateful that you can even experience and process such a thing, because most people don't really have the luxury of knowing about these forces that are beyond them. So that's something to think about. I hope this Eldritch explanation has been enlightening and made you question your place in the universe. Of course, I am always embracing these Eldritch perceptions of mine because I don't want to take them for granted. I mean, I love my life, and I'm always looking forward to learning the next thing about my perception with enthusiasm and pride. Mysteriously, these new discoveries that I make that are pretty far out and beyond human understanding never stay in my brain for very long. I usually forget them pretty easily. I believe they are elusive for a reason, so please don't be frustrated if that supernatural thing that you experienced that was so beyond your perception is so hard to describe, because there are many things about autism that we don't understand yet, and it's important for us all to gather together and make headway in this area. Whether you're Eldritch or not, it is so important for autistic people to embrace who we are and discover things about ourselves and how we're different from normal, so that we can be a guiding light in people's lives. Of course, that is what makes us so irreplaceable, and I hope that you find traits of yours that you like and cherish them just as much as I do. The diversity of brains is humanity's defining feature, so fascinating and endless to witness. And that's probably not even the half of it. Your brain is probably so much better than my own because it includes all your profound experience and contact with this life thus far. Of course, if we started to really embrace neurodiversity and understand how we are all incredible and different from each other, we could truly make headway in progressing society in a way that truly acknowledges the complexity that each of our lives bring to the table. By embracing the Eldritch power each of us holds within ourselves that makes us a little different from other people, we can achieve our wildest dreams and fashion ourselves a new exciting reality where everyone has the courage to embrace their true selves, and that will ultimately help to evolve our collective humanity. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to leave what kind of unexplainable Eldritch phenomenon that you've experienced as an autistic person in the comments down below. And I'll see you next time. Bye!